Assalamu alaikum, this is Maria Zulfikar welcoming you all to the English news from BTV Chattogram. Let's begin with the headlines. Chief Advisor's Malaysia visit to develop bilateral relations between two countries to a new height, says Chief Advisor's Press Secretary. Roadmap for 13th national election to be announced next week, says Election Commission Senior Secretary. Religious advisor urges to ensure middleman-free Hajj management system. $120 trucks loaded with white stones seized in Sylhet following overnight operations by joint forces. Investigations against several influential individuals, including Obaidul Qadir, in final stage, informs Prosecutor. Israeli forces kill over 100 Palestinians, including 61 in Gaza City alone in 24 hours. And PSG win UEFA Super Cup, beating Tottenham by 4-3 on penalties in Italy. Viewers, those were the headlines. Now moving on to the details. The regular meeting of the Advisory Council was held at the Chief Advisor's office in Dhaka today. Chief Advisor Professor Muhammad Yunus presided over the meeting. Members of the Advisory Council and the concerned secretaries were present in the meeting. After the cabinet meeting, Chief Advisor's Press Secretary Shafiqul Alam briefed the reporters at the Foreign Service Academy. He said out of the 367 recommendations of the Reform Commission, 37 recommendations have already been implemented. He said Chief Advisor's visit to Malaysia has been very fruitful and will take relations between the two countries to new heights.
যে সংস্কার কমিশনগুলো মোট 11টা সংস্কার কমিশন হয়েছিল আপনি জানেন কনস্টিটিউশন সংস্কারটা ছাড়া মোট 10টা কমিশনের যেগুলো আশু সুপারিশ যেগুলো বাস্তবায়নযোগ্য সেগুলো নিয়ে আজকে আবার একটা বড় আলোচনা হয় আজকে আরো জানানো হয় যে আরো 246টা আশু করণীয় রিফর্ম আরো এসছে এগুলো বাস্তবায়নাধীন এটা জানানো হয় ক্যাবিনেটকে মোট হচ্ছে 367টা 367টার মধ্যে 37টি অলরেডি বাস্তবায়িত হয়েছে নতুন যেগুলো 246টা এসছে তার মধ্যে 82টা ছিল লেবার নিয়ে যিনি অ্যাডভাইজার ব্রিগেডিয়ার সাফারত হোসেন উনি জানিয়েছেন যে তার 82টার মধ্যে অনেকগুলোই খুবই ফাইনাল পর্যায়ে আছে বাস্তবায়নের কিছু কিছু অলরেডি বাস্তবায়িত হয়েছে নারী কমিশনের 71টি বাস্তবায়নের জন্য লিস্টিং করা হয়েছে এবং অনেকগুলো অলরেডি এটা নিয়ে কাজ হচ্ছে এলজিআরডির 37টি হেলথের 33টি এবং ইনফরমেশনের 23টি মোট গত গভর্নমেন্টের সময় কিছু হিসাবে আসছে প্রায় $300 মিলিয়ন কেউ বলছেন প্রায় $200 মিলিয়ন সার্ভেইলেন্স ইকুইপমেন্ট কেনা হয়েছিল এবং পুরো জিনিসটা আমরা যেটা রিপোর্টে আমরা পড়ছি যেটা টেক গ্লোবাল ইনস্টিটিউটের 70 পেজের যে রিপোর্ট সেখানে এবং ডেইলি স্টারের রিপোর্ট এখানে পুরোপুরি স্পষ্ট যে গত স্বৈরাচার সরকার বাংলাদেশের নাগরিক অধিকার হরণের জন্য এই সার্ভেইলেন্সের যে ইকুইপমেন্টগুলো সেগুলো স্পাইওয়্যার তারা ইউজ করেছেন কনস্টিটিউশনে আমাদের যে গোপনীয়তার যেই রাইটটা দেওয়া হয়েছে সেটাকে তারা খর্ব করেছেন তো সেইটার উপরে একটা কমিটি করে দেওয়া হয়েছে যে এটাকে ইনভেস্টিগেট করার জন্য যে কত টাকার কত $1 মিলিয়ন এটা কেনা হয়েছে এবং কোথা থেকে এইগুলো কেনা আছে এই পুরো বিষয়গুলো তারা খতিয়ে দেখবেন, সেগুলোর উপরে এটার প্রধান থাকবেন ফয়েজ তায়েব আহমেদ। উনি এটার নেতৃত্ব দিবেন এবং এইটার ফলে যেটা হবে যে কিভাবে করা হয়েছে এবং এটা কীভাবে ইউজ করা হয়েছে। মালয়েশিয়া নিয়ে আমরা বলতে পারি আমাদের একটা খুবই ফ্রুটফুল একটা ট্যুর হয়েছে। আমরা বলবো এটা একটা ল্যান্ডমার্ক ট্যুর ছিল, আমি বলবো যে ফলপ্রসূ একটা ট্যুর হয়েছে এবং এর ফলে বাংলাদেশ এবং মালয়েশিয়ার মধ্যে যে অলরেডি একটা ফ্রেন্ডলি রিলেশনশিপ আছে সেটা আরও শক্তিশালী হলো এবং আরও নতুন উচ্চতায় উঠলো।
The roadmap for the upcoming 13th national election will be published next week. Election Commission Senior Secretary Akhtar Ahmed shared the development to reporters at the election office in Agargao today. The EC Secretary said the election roadmap will be published next week. However, the method by which the roadmap will be prepared will be announced later. Regarding the voting rights of expatriates, the EC Secretary said that further discussions are pending on this issue. Journalists will be informed after the discussions. He also said that the Commission has received 318 applications for election observation so far, which are being scrutinized. This afternoon, a meeting was held at the Election Commission on various election-related issues. Later, the Jatiyo Party delegation met with the Chief Election Commissioner.
Roadmap. হ্যাঁ, আমরা এটা নিয়ে আলোচনা করেছি এবং আমরা আশা করছি আগামী সপ্তাহে আপনাদেরকে আমাদের নির্বাচনের রোডম্যাপটা দিতে পারবো, সো দ্যাট আপনারা আপনাদের প্রস্তুতি এবং আমাদের প্রস্তুতি সম্পর্কে একটা ভালো ধারণা পাবেন।
The three-day Hajj and Umrah Fair 2025 began today at the Bangladesh-China Friendship Conference Center in Dhaka. The event was inaugurated in the morning by Religious Affairs Advisor AFM Khalid Hussain. On the occasion, the advisor urged Hajj agency owners to establish a middleman-free Hajj management system to ensure a hassle-free pilgrimage. He also stated that the Ministry of Religious Affairs has begun working on reducing airfare costs for Hajj pilgrims. In addition, instead of relying on Saudi catering services, the ministry is introducing its own catering arrangements and is in communication with the Saudi government through the embassy to address various issues faced by Bangladeshi pilgrims in Saudi Arabia. Speakers at the event included Religious Affairs Secretary AKM Aftab Hussain Pramanik, Hajj Agencies Association of Bangladesh President Syed Ghulam Sarwar, Secretary General Farid Ahmed Mojumdar, and Senior Vice President Shamim Saidi, among other distinguished guests. This year, 154 Hajj agencies have gathered under one roof at the fair, offering various facilities and promotional offers for pilgrims. They said that in addition to fulfilling all commitments to prospective pilgrims, they are introducing GPS tracking technology for the first time to ensure pilgrims' safety. Many prospective pilgrims are attending the fair to avoid the exploitation of middlemen. A total of 120 trucks loaded with white stones have been seized in Sylhet. The joint forces conducted an overnight operation on Wednesday, setting up checkpoints to carry out the seizures. According to the Companyganj UNO, the stones will be replaced with those from Bholaganj's white stone quarry. It is reported that separate checkpoints have been set up in Companyganj and Goainghat to maintain round-the-clock monitoring and prevent stone extraction. Local residents said that after the fall of the fascist Sheikh Hasina government on August 5 last year, large-scale looting of stones began in 8 stone quarries and 10 non-quarry areas of Sylhet district. In particular, massive stone looting took place in Companyganj's Shah Arifin Tila, Bholaganj Stone Quarry, the protected bunker area, as well as Goainghat's environmentally sensitive Jaflong and tourist spot Bichanakandi. Meanwhile, the High Court has ordered that all looted stones from Bholaganj be returned to their original locations within 7 days. The court has also demanded a list of those involved in illegal stone extraction. The order was issued today. Earlier, a writ petition was filed in the relevant branch of the High Court seeking prompt action against those responsible for the white stone looting in Sylhet. A hearing on the matter is scheduled for next Sunday before a High Court dual bench. The petition was filed by Supreme Court lawyer Mir K.M. Nobi. The writ seeks an investigation into the incident and submission of a report within 15 days. Separately, the current chairman of Purbo Islambapur Union, Alamgir Hussain, in Kompaniganj Upazila has been arrested on charges of stone theft. He was detained early in the morning. According to reports, Alamgir Hussain was arrested by the detective branch due to an outstanding warrant from a 2024 case involving sand and stone theft. He also faced allegations of white stone looting after August 5 last year. International Crimes Tribunal has ordered the protection of witness in the case of crimes against humanity committed in the capital's Chankarpur area during the July mass uprising. The directive was issued today following an appeal from the witnesses. Prosecutor Ghazi Image Tamim shared this information while briefing journalists at the tribunal. He said that a 3-member investigation committee has been formed to look into the matter. In response to another question from journalists, Ghazi Image Tamim said that the investigation of several influential individuals, including Obaidul Qadir, are in their final stages. The investigation report will be submitted soon, he added. Due to the opening of the Farakka barrage, floodwaters from upstream in India are flowing down, causing the water level of the Podda River to rise abnormally. The low-lying areas of the Chors have been submerged since the beginning of the month. Low-lying areas of Kushtia, Rajshahi, Sirajganj and Chapai-Nawabganj have been inundated, damaging cultivated land. Some educational institutions in certain areas have also been closed. Podda River's water level to rise continuously since July. However, since the first week of August, the Podda's water level has been increasing at an abnormal rate. In Daulatpur Upazila of Kushtia, nearly 50,000 people along the banks of the Podda are now anxious. The cultivated lands and roads in the low-lying areas of the Chors have already been flooded. Educational activities in 13 schools have been suspended. In Chapai-Nawabganj, teaching in schools of 5 flood-affected unions is being disrupted. Water has entered schools in several areas, including Shodor Upazila and Shibganj. At least 9,000 families are marooned by the water. Meanwhile, after nearly a decade, the Podda's water in Rajshahi has again crossed the danger level. Over the past few days, the river's water level has been rising steadily, flooding the low-lying areas along the river banks. Several hundred families are stranded. In Sirajganj, the Podda's water is rising at an alarming rate, submerging crop fields. On the other hand, Tista River was flowing above the danger mark due to the flood waters coming from upstream, leaving many people in 5 upazilas stranded by the water. In Faridpur, the Chor areas of the Podda are submerged and the water level of the Tista River is also rising. The water level at Dalia Point has exceeded the danger mark. River water at the Tista barrage point in Lalmonirhat was flowing 5 centimeters above the danger mark. Crops in the Chor areas and lowlands have been damaged and many people are stranded by the floodwater. Now, international news. Over 100 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli attacks across Gaza in 24 hours, according to medical sources, with Al Jazeera's team on the ground reporting the intensification of strikes on the northern parts of the besieged enclave, where 61 people were killed in Gaza City alone. At least 37 people desperately seeking any food for their families were killed by Israeli fire, including 16 killed near an aid point north of Rafah, according to the Nasser Hospital in southern Gaza, and another 14 killed and 113 wounded by Israeli forces waiting for aid in the north. In 24-hour reporting period, at least 8 people, including 3 children, died from Israeli-imposed starvation and malnutrition, bringing the total number of hunger-related deaths since the war began in October 2023 to 235. Among them, 106 children, the Health Ministry said on Wednesday. Philip Lazzarini, head of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine and Refugees, UNRWA, described the deaths as the latest in the war on children and childhood in Gaza. Meanwhile, protests have continued around the world against Israel's targeted assassination of 4 Al Jazeera journalists and 2 freelancers in Gaza. Israel's war on Gaza has killed at least 61,722 people and wounded 1,54,525. United States President Donald Trump has warned of very severe consequences if Russian President Vladimir Putin refuses to end the war in Ukraine following the two leaders' upcoming summit in Alaska. Trump made the comments on Wednesday after holding a virtual meeting with European leaders, including Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. In a joint statement issued after the virtual summit, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and French President Emmanuel Macron said that Russia should face tougher sanctions if it fails to agree to a ceasefire on Friday, and that Kiev must also be given robust and credible security guarantees. The 10th Trump-Putin summit has been a cause for anxiety in Kiev and Europe more widely after Trump suggested that both Ukraine and Russia would have to swap land if a truce is to be reached. At least 26 people have died after 2 boats sank off the southern Italian island of Lampedusa. More refugees and migrants could be missing as search operations continue. According to the Italian Red Cross and the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees (UNHCR), rescue services on Wednesday rescued 60 survivors. A spokesperson for the UN's International Organization for Migration (IOM) said around 95 people had been traveling on the 2 vessels. The disaster involving people traveling from Libya was the latest to befall refugees and migrants making the perilous Mediterranean crossing from Africa to Europe. Greece is facing its hardest days yet of this year's wildfire season after dozens of new blazes erupted in a single day, and extreme weather hampers extinguishing efforts. Strong winds, prolonged dryness, and intense heat wave worsened conditions across much of the mainland and on the islands, forcing evacuations and dramatic rescue operations in recent days. The situation is particularly dangerous near the western city of Patras, on the hard-hit Peloponnese Peninsula, where 2 large fires are burning. Nearly 5,000 firefighters, assisted by 33 aircraft, were deployed since dawn to contain the flames, stoked by winds and hot, dry conditions near Patras, on the tourist island of Chios and Zakynthos, and in at least 3 inland spots. Elsewhere in Europe, heat alerts were issued in Italy, France, Spain, Portugal, and the Balkans on Tuesday, with temperatures expected to soar above 40 degrees Celsius in some regions.